Hello, everyone. So excited to be recording the very first podcast for Wildly Empowered Women. I have a very close friend of mine here, Alyssa Bootlegiri, and she is going to be actually interviewing me and, sort of getting out all the answers and all the background to this podcast because A, there's nothing more awkward than introducing yourself and your story. Let's be honest. And B, this woman is an absolute superstar. She has been with me from day dot of my journey in becoming a wildly empowered woman. She has actually coached me in mindset. She's a mindset, manifestation, and emotional intelligence coach. She's an absolute superstar on TikTok, and she shares all of her wisdom around those topics. So I'll pop her TikTok in the show notes below. And she's just a dear friend that I've had many beachside walks with over a cacao, talking all things life and just the journey that I've been on to where I really am today. So thank you so much for joining me and helping me with this first episode, Alyssa. I really appreciate it. So over to you for this very first introduction and podcast for this entire series. Thank you so much, love.
You are so welcome. And thank you so much for having me as your interviewer on this first episode. I'm seriously honored to be doing this for you. Like you said, you're just such a good friend, and I have seen your journey and I guess you could say really the beginning of your journey when you actually decided that you were ready to thrive, that you were ready to step into your power. Because let's be honest, life is a journey. Right. And we're always on a journey, but I witnessed you really make the decision that you were ready to step into your wildly empowered woman and, flourish and really create success, not just in your business, but in your life, in your relationships, and just be an overall incredible human being. So I'm really, really grateful to be doing this for you. So the first question that I would love to ask you is, what is the intention between wildly empowered women? What is it? What does it mean? What are you hoping to help women achieve?
So I have so many juicy conversations with awesome women that are really conversations that I believe a wildly empowered woman or a woman that really wants to connect with and perhaps evolve into a more empowered woman would want to hear and would want to be part of. So about 2 years ago, I started a Facebook group called Wildly Empowered Women, and it's all about business, wealth, pleasure, and play. There's a beautiful quote from Abraham Hicks that says, "The path of least resistance is our path of greatest joy, greatest pleasure, and the most clarity." And so these conversations that I have in there and also just on a daily basis with the women in my circle and in my life are so powerful. And probably about a year or two ago, I had the idea to start a podcast so that they could be digestible conversations that women could just listen to and get, a really nice, juicy, feminine inspiration as part of their day. However, I didn't want to start until I knew I could be really consistent with it. And I knew that I had the spaciousness to show up and be consistent and do this on a weekly basis. And really have it as, like I said, something that is joyful and brings me pleasure and brings more clarity to me and the listeners. So I knew that I had to wait for the right moment, which is absolutely now. It feels so pleasurable and joyful being here. So the intention really is to inspire women to really own and find and unleash their wild and to be more empowered in who they are. So the conversations will be everything from sex, cycles, feminine business, money, mindset, manifestation, everything in between that a wildly empowered woman would want to be in conversation with or hear a conversation about.
So good. Oh, such juicy topics and conversations. I always say the one thing I love about a podcast is that it's like those conversations that you have with a friend or with a mentor or coach that no one else hears. And you get to the end of it and you're like, man, I wish I had something recording that then, because that was honestly the best conversation. And that's why I love podcast, because we get to do this. You get to dive deep into conversation and have these types of conversations as well. So what does a wildly empowered woman look like to you? Like, what's your definition of that?
So a few years ago, I really delved into my vision around like, why am I so passionate about empowering women? Like, what is that to me? Why am I so fiercely passionate about it? And a memory came to me of when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I was in maths class, and I was helping a friend of mine. I was sitting next to her, helping her solve a maths problem. And I wasn't giving her the answer. I was just like simply, empowering her to find the answer. And I will never forget going to the front of the class and handing the teacher our books and being scolded and getting in a lot of trouble for helping my friend. And I still remember the feeling, that saying of you don't necessarily remember what someone says, but you remember the feeling, like how they made you feel. I remember Mrs. Hempstead. I still remember her name.
If she's listening, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to call you out for this. Ain't nobody not empowering someone on my watch, disempowering someone. I still remember her saying, like, her making me feel really guilty and shamed for empowering a woman to find the answer. And, as a 7 or 8 year old, you don't know what, empowering another woman means. You don't even know what the word empowering means. But I remember that memory as one of my earliest memories of really having that desire to empower another woman. So that's where the passion comes from. And to me, a wildly empowered woman looks different to everyone, because that's the beauty of being a woman. Like, we can find ourselves as a woman, we can feel wild and empowered and unleashed and in our truth and worthy in completely different ways. But it's at its core essence, it's being comfortable and owning who you are. It's like finding your voice, finding your truth, and feeling unapologetic in sharing that. So there's going to be varying degrees, and it, obviously based on personality, human design, all these different things, but it's really just a woman that owns who she is.
Yeah.
And loves who she is. Yeah.
I love that. And that's incredible that you have a memory that far back of being discouraged to empower another woman, right? I mean, obviously at that age, like you said, you're not women, you're only a little girls, but still to have a memory like that, it's really quite incredible, that from a young age, you sort of realized, hang on a second, like, I'm here trying to help, a friend, and that's being shut down. And I can only imagine what that internal programming would have done over the years, right? When it comes to helping other women. And we wonder why in society we have so many women not supporting women, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not taught to do that at a young age. We're really not.
Absolutely. And, stepping into this space, in the online space, which I've been in for 8 years now, and in my business for 3.5 years, we are such a close-knit group of women, and we have each other's back. We support one another. And all the time I get comments like, I've never been in such a supportive group. Like, I can't believe how much everyone supports one another and encourages one another. And it's like, I would never be part of something that isn't. So, because I haven't been in the corporate world for 2.5 years now, I sometimes forget that it really can be very cutthroat. And I came from public relations, which is 95% females. And most of the time I was in really good teams. We all had each other's backs, and we all supported one another too. So I've not really experienced the opposite, where it's like, very cutthroat and jealousy and all of that. Like, it really is a choice, like whether you're going to be in that environment or not. And it's sad. It's quite sad that is, like a lot of the societal expectations around women is like, we have certain roles to play, and there's certain things that men can succeed in, and there's certain things that women can't. And that fires me up so much. And that definitely was a really, really, really big inspiration behind this podcast, because when I became a mother, and then for some reason something clicks when you like hit 30, like those two things.
I agree.
Became a mum at 27, and then when I hit 30, I was just like, this is not right. Like, women should be able to, like, we can have a career and be a mother. It's not one or the other. You know, we can have this desire to feel pleasure and sexy and like be in touch with our feminine and, you know, like have all that juicy goodness and also be an absolute boss in business, you know, and be a mother and be a wife and whatever the hell we want to be, you know, like it's not about the labels. It's about the fact that you can be whatever feels good for you. And, you know, like that unleashed like freedom is what I'm really passionate about, that like nothing should really hold us back. And that's why I love seeing women really own what they want and say what they want, not say what other people expect from them or what they feel obliged to say or do or people please. Like, no, what do you actually want? When you feel it in your body, what do you actually want? Speak your truth and share that.
I love that. And, you know, it's so funny listening to you say that then. It's just reminding me of this fundamental imprint that all women have that goes back to our ancestors, right? Where women literally got burnt at the stake for being wildly empowered, speaking their truth, being who they are, being lit up, being intuitive. We were literally burn at the stake for being that way. And as a result, this is where also that suppression came from, but also that competitive nature between women, because it was literally a matter of life or death, calling other women out in order to save yourself, you know, suppressing yourself in order to not be scolded or, you know, or put down. So there really has been this fundamental like flaw for years. And that's why I love that you're doing this podcast, because it's giving women full permission to just completely rewrite that internal blueprint, which is so important if we're going to be wildly empowered.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to you know, fill your mind, fill your ears with positive affirmations and, you know, like this podcast, like whoever you're following on social media, whoever you're hanging out with, spending the most time with, including online, right? Like if you spend more time with people online than you do physically, make sure that they're people that are going to empower you and lift you up and grow you and stretch you and challenge you in the right ways, rather than it being toxic or everyone just in their victim or, you know, like really disempowering you. Like it's so important. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang around, including the people that you listen to or you follow on social media and whatnot as well.
Love that. So I know we've kind of touched on this question, but why a podcast specifically?
So I really wanted it to be super digestible, easy way to just start your day. Or, you know, a wildly empowered woman lives a busy life. If she can plug in whilst she's driving to pick the kids up from school or daycare, if she's like on her way to work, on her way to a business meeting, or, you know, even just making dinner or making lunch or whatnot, and just like pop the earbuds in and listen to something that's going to light her up and remember who the F she is, then that is like my job done, you know, like
what a way to start a day. Forget coffee, just listen to this.
And I just think, you know, like the more you can learn in digestible chunks, I think, you know, a lot of people put things off because they feel they don't have time, or they feel it's going to be harder than what it really is. And it's like, if you really want to grow and stretch yourself and become more unleashed and find your truth and own it, just do a little bit each day. Like start with 5 to 10 minutes of affirmations, or listening to this podcast, or listening to Abraham Hicks, or, you know, something that's going to really fire you up. It doesn't have to be something hard and difficult. It gets to be something that's just a short, consistent thing on a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah, I love that. Often, and I've literally proven this to myself so many times, the hardest step really is starting, because how often do we procrastinate, put things off, and then we start and we're like, oh my goodness, that was so much easier doing it than what I made it in my head, you know, and we put things off for so long. So I love that. Now, Bear, what were you going to say?
Oh, I just posted about that on Facebook yesterday, actually. I said, it's funny you say that, because I said, the answers come in the doing. Like so
Yep.
many people want to know everything. They want to know, want to have clarity on like how the entire strategy of something works, instead of just getting into action and trusting that the journey will unfold. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know every single episode. I know I'm going to do some meditations. I'm going to interview a few people. Some will be me going on a rampage. Like, I don't have every single episode planned out, but man, do I trust and know that it's going to be friggin' awesome, and that it will unfold as I do. But if you wait to try and have everything mapped out, you never do. And that's why if you look at or speak to any of the most successful people in any industry, in any field, they've just gotten into action. Like, you don't have to see the whole bloody staircase to take the first step. Yeah.
Love it. So bearing in mind how liberating it is to be a wildly empowered woman, this is the ultimate question. What would you tell your younger self?
So this is the question I'll be asking my interviewees. And I really thought about this, and I thought back to my 18, 19, 20-year-old self, and I would tell her to stop asking for other people's opinions or caring about other people's opinions, and sit with the question and sit with what I actually want, and trust my inner knowing. Trust that no one else has the answers except for me, and no one else can dictate to me what I want or what feels good or my path or what I should do, except for myself, and actually trusting that inside voice.
Absolutely. We think we don't know a lot of the time. We always know. It's just that we're not listening, or we don't give ourselves permission to listen. So I love that. Now, where can people find you, my love?
So I have really, really creative names on all of my social media. On Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, I am Jessica Zalums. No full stops or underscores or anything. It's very boring, but very easy to find me. So it's ZALUMS, and I'll pop the links in the show notes, and also to Alyssa's TikTok as well. And my Facebook group on Facebook is Wildly Empowered Women, where I'll have a little bit more from podcast videos and whatnot as well. So you can be in there for some more sacred conversations that aren't, really in a public forum.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for letting me introduce you on your podcast, my love. I know that so many women are going to find this podcast so incredibly valuable and get so much out of it. And I'm really excited to see what you do with it.
Thank you, lovely. And I look forward to having you back on to actually interview you, so everyone can learn more about you and hear your wisdom.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Queen. Love
You're
you.
welcome. Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.